Shalom, Israel. I want to give all glory, honor, and praise to Yahweh by Hashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. I want to bring a lesson out on Deuteronomy 28 and 68. The chapter of Deuteronomy 28 covers the curses. It starts off covering blessings from verse 1 through verse 14, and then verses 15 through 68 are curses for being disobedient. Before we get into 68, which is where I'm going to focus, I want to take you to Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1, so you know who's talking and who the audience is. So here we go, highlighted. Deuteronomy 1 and 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side of Jordan in the wilderness. So Moses is speaking to all Israel, the descendants of Jacob. Okay? So we have that established. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Start in verse 1. And it says, It shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So what the Most High promised in the very beginning of this chapter is he would set Israel above every other nation. But it comes with a contingency. You have to obey the Lord your God. Okay? So like I was telling you earlier, all the way through verse 14, he's telling you all the blessings that he's going to give you for obedience. Verse 2 says, and all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee. You're not going to be able to hold the blessings back if you do right. They're going to overtake you. You can't outrun them. Okay? So all the way through verse 14, and thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. All right, so here we go. Getting closer to where I want to go. Deuteronomy 28, verse 15, highlighted area. But it shall come to pass. In other words, this is going to happen. If thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So God gave you a choice. Most High said, if you obey me, blessings are going to come upon you and overtake you. If you're rebellious and disobedient, then curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Okay? So we could read all the way through from 15 all the way through 68 and see the curses. But I want to jump down to verse 68 because this curse is undeniable. It didn't happen to any other people. Only one people on this earth can identify with this. So we're going to break this verse down. So Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again. Okay, so we established in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1 that we're talking to the Israelites. And this verse says that the Lord is going to bring the Israelites into Egypt again. Now, first of all, we have a problem with that because if we go back to Deuteronomy 17, let's go down to 16. Let's actually start in verse, 14 to get a clear picture of what it's talking about. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. When thou art come unto the land which Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in no wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. So here's the rules for having a king, because God knew we were going to rebel and decide we were going to be just like the other nations and want a king over us. And he says that king has to be an Israelite. Verse 16, but he being the king, shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt. This is what I'm trying to get you to see. Because in Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, it says that he is going to send you to Egypt again. Now in 17 and 16 of Deuteronomy, it says, but he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. So that's the command about Egypt. As a people, the Israelites would not go into Egypt again. So let's go back to Deuteronomy 28 and 68 and make sense of what's being said. It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Okay, so when the Israelites were in Egypt the first time, they served as slaves to Pharaoh. I want you to hear that again. When the Israelites were in Egypt the first time, they served as slaves to Pharaoh. Okay? And I probably shouldn't have said first time. I should have just said when the Israelites were in Egypt, they served as slaves to Pharaoh. So, and I took you to Deuteronomy 17 and 16 and showed you that Israel would not go into Egypt again. But 28 and 68 seems to be saying something different. So let's go to Deuteronomy 5 and 6. And it says, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. So now we're seeing that Egypt has a definition other than a landmass. It is called the house of bondage. So when we see that word Egypt, we can substitute it with house of bondage or captivity or slavery. So with that in mind, let's go back and look at Deuteronomy 28 and 68. So the Israelites served as slaves in the land of Egypt. And the Lord our God says, and the Lord shall bring thee into slavery again with ships. Now, if I sat here and asked you, what people do you know went to slavery on ships? Everyone would say the African American or the black man and woman, okay? So, and the Lord shall bring thee into slavery again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. So we go back to Deuteronomy 17 and 16, because it says we're not going to see the land of Egypt again in 68. And we see the same thing here. Ye shall henceforth return no more that way. And as you can see, the Lord's talking about Egypt. Okay? All right. So now we can make sense of this. So here we go. Let's read this with some sense. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into slavery again with ships. So the first time we were in Egypt, we didn't go by ship. We walked into the land. And then we walked out of the land. And now we're going to spiritual Egypt. And we're shipped all over the world, especially into the Americas. Okay? And it says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. So the Lord says, I have told you that you're not going into the landmass of Egypt again, because he says, thou shalt see it no more again. And then it goes on to say, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. So for slave men and slave women, and no man shall buy you. So I want you to see what this shall buy means, okay? So if we go ahead and click on this verse, go over to the left here where it says tools. I'm in the Blue Letter Bible. I click on it and I go down until I can find shall buy right here, H7069. Let's click on it and see what it says. The word right here is kana. Let's see how they pronounce it.
Strong's H 7069. Kana.
I did a pretty good job on that. Okay. So let's click on this H7069 and let's look at the Strong's definition. Where are you, Strong's definition? Here we go, right here. All right, so kana. It says a primitive root to erect, create, by extension to procure, especially by purchase, by implication to own, attain, teach, to keep cattle, get, provoke to jealousy, possess, purchase, recover, redeem, surely, verily. So we have a bunch of different definitions that this word kana could be translated into. And what I'm going to show you, I didn't mean to click off of that. What I'm going to show you is that we're looking at recover and redeem as our definition. And how do we prove that? We go into the Bible and look at the precept. So now we're talking about in Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, Israelite men and women being sold into slavery. So when I say precept, that means a law. So once I find this, I'm going to find the law that pertains to this and show you exactly what's supposed to happen in that case, okay? So if we go to, I want to say it's Leviticus 25, yes, verse 47. So here we go. Leviticus 25, 47, and I think I'm going to read down to 49. And if a sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. Do you remember we saw that in the Strong's Concordance? It said recover or redeemed. So let's read verse 48 again. After that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him. And if his brethren can't do it, it goes on to say either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him. So all the way down to a cousin, or any that is nigh of kin unto him of his family may redeem him. Or if he be able, he may redeem himself. So the idea is, if an Israelite goes into slavery to a stranger, then we, being Israelites, are supposed to redeem him out of that situation. And verse 50, I'm going to go ahead and read. No, we're not going to read it. We're going to stop right there at verse 49. I want to read that again, though. And let's start in verse 47, Leviticus 25 and 47. And if a sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. one of his brethren may redeem him. Either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is nigh or near of kin unto him of his family may redeem him, or if he be able, he may redeem himself. So let's go back to Deuteronomy 28 and 68. So it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into slavery again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see Egypt no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for slaves, slave men and slave women. And none of your brethren shall redeem you out of that situation. Now, I didn't read it this time. What I did was kind of put it into my own words, using the words that I pulled from other verses to make sense of it. Now, I hope this was an edifying lesson, and I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bahashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shah. Yahweh Shai. Shalom, Israel.